Hello, welcome to a video discussing applications of systems of linear equations. So we're going to focus on some particular pages from the notes. Those will be pages 5 and 6. We did pages 1, 2, 3 in class today. So we'll skip page 4 and do that later, but let's focus on page 5 of the notes and page 6. So these are word problems that will deal with systems of equations. So here we have an example about Caltrain. A monthly pass costs $42.40 per student. A one-way cost on the Clipper card is $1.60. So should you get the monthly pass or pay as you go? Sketch a graph. So it's a little bit open-ended, this question. So if we think about what this is, that's really just kind of a flat fee. So you think it's like y equals 42.4. Whereas this, I'm going to think of as y equals 1.6x. Where x is going to equal the number of one-way trips. Now, how come I didn't use x for the other equation? That's because this is the same cost for the whole month. Now, I could introduce another variable and let x or a different variable be the number of months, but let's assume in 1 month. So really, here's how we're thinking about this. In 1 month, which option is a better deal? So clearly, in order to make the Clipper card, the monthly pass worth your while, you want to make sure that you travel on the train long enough, or enough number of times, or frequently enough, that's probably a better word to use, so that you actually would have a savings. Whereas if you're only going to ride maybe 5 or 6 times, then why get a monthly pass? Just get a Clipper card and just do the one-way cost on that. So if I sketch a graph as we are suggested here, y equals 42.4 is just a horizontal line that looks like that. Whereas y equals 1.6x will have a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of 1.6. So ultimately they're going to intersect somewhere. And that's what we're interested in finding, the point of intersection. Now, we talked about how you could do this in the graphing calculator, and you can do that, and you'll have to make an adjustment to your window. And actually, I'll do that in Desmos. You see I'm looking at baseball stats before I started this video. Anyway, so Desmos is working here. Y equals 42.4. Should be an equal sign. And then y equals 1.6x. Okay, why did I keep in the minus? So I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit so I can see this. And I want the point of intersection, which it looks like is 26.5. You could also set the two equations equal to each other using substitution, and you will get 26.5. So it looks as though 26 or fewer trips, just use the Clipper card, for one-way trips. 27 or more trips, get a monthly pass. So that's kind of the moral of the story, is trying to figure out which one's a better deal. And we use our knowledge of linear functions and graphing and points of intersection to help us figure that out. Let's look at stock market. More specifically, we'll look at, oh, I thought we were looking at Google stock. Never mind. We're using Google to look it up. So stock A and stock B. Actually, we'll say stock A is Apple. And we'll say stock B is Facebook. Both very successful stocks. We've owned them for the last few years. So this will be kind of fun to do. So APL is a quote for Apple. Looks like it's $220.42. And then a year ago, that's actually, yeah, so we go back a year. So today's September 26th, let's go September 27th, 2017, there we go, it was 154.23. So Google's very handy that way. So clearly Apple's done quite well over the last year. Facebook's FB, that's a quote there, or maybe the FB quotes. There we go. 1 year, so right now it's 166. It's actually dropped quite a bit. It used to be over $200. So some crazy stuff has happened. But we look at it a year ago, so it actually hasn't. It's down. It's crazy. 167.68. So it's actually higher at this time a year ago. That's interesting, given how Facebook has grown tremendously, but they've had some problems. So to calculate percent change, just so you know, percent change is always new minus old, divided by old, times 100%. So you want to subtract the two values, but always divide by the old value to see how it changes. So for Apple, let me use a calculator over here. 220.42 minus 154.23, and then divide that by 154.23. So Apple has done 42.9% growth. So that's a phenomenal investment. You can't find much better than that. But Facebook, 167. Actually, new minus old, 166.95 minus 167.68, and divide that by the old value, so 167.68. So it's down, it's negative, not by much, negative 0.004, so we'll say it's negative 0.44%. Because remember, you always multiply by 100 to convert to a percentage. So stable, but still interesting. So then if we look at this one here, suppose you invested $10,000 last year and yielded blank percent interest. How much you invest in each stock? Okay. This is a little confusing. I don't like the way this is worded. But let's say overall you had a 10% return. So the interest is actually your return. So it means that we invested some money in Apple, some in Facebook. And it kind of makes sense we say 10%, because maybe we put more of our money in Facebook, and of course that hasn't done well for us, and not as much in Apple. But of course Apple's helped us at least grow some of our money. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to let X equal the dollar amount invested in Apple, and let Y be the dollar amount invested, sorry for my messy handwriting, in Facebook. So of course X plus Y is just going to equal $10,000. Now let's look at the percent growth. Apple gave us a 42.9% growth. So 0.429, you're going to lose a decimal there, X. Now Facebook's giving us a negative growth, so I'm going to actually make it minus 0.44 Y. And overall we made 10%, so 0.1 times 10,000. I'm making a video. It's okay, you come in. So now you want to substitute, right? So you can substitute, maybe isolating Y for one of them, and solving for X. This will be how much money you invested in Apple. So it's kind of a nice real-life situation here. And by the way, we do try to aim for about 10% growth in our stocks. That's usually a good plan. Sometimes some stocks don't do well, some stocks do better than others. So if I work all this out, I think I wind up getting 0.869x, and the other side I think is going to be 560. No. 5,400. So use a calculator if you need to. I'm doing all this in my head. And I just made a big mistake. Okay. we have 0.44%. Should be 0.0044. Sorry about that. So I need to make a correction. Hopefully you realize I made this mistake. I was actually interrupted by Diane Sweeney, our science teacher, and Mr. Ray is our math teacher, so sorry about that. So this is also wrong too down here. So definitely going to need a calculator for this one. This is going to be too hard to do in my head. So I got 0.429. 0.429 minus 0.0044. Actually, be plus 0.429 plus 0.0044. Okay, so you have 0.4334x equals, and then if I move it over to the other side, 0.0044 times 10,000, 44. So obviously I'm adding 4 for this. That's just 1,044. So still tell me how much money I've invested in Apple. I wish I invested more, because it would have been a really, really nice return, you know. So 2408. We'll say, yeah, 2408.86. And of course, y would be 10,000 minus that, which I think is 7591.14. So obviously we have most of our money in Facebook, not enough in Apple. Probably should have spoken to a financial planner to make better choices. But yeah, so this is a good example of system of equations. Now let's look at one that's a little more typical. I thought this was more interesting, just we had to do a little more research there. But for number 3, say you're selling 2 types of shirts, short sleeve shirts, long sleeve shirts. So it costs $5 and sold for $8 each. Long sleeve costs us $7 but sold for $12 each. We spent $2,500 and sell all for $4,200. So we'll let X be the number of short sleeve shirts. And Y be the number of long sleeve shirts. So, again, X equals number of short sleeve shirts, Y equals number of long sleeve shirts. So when we make our equations, we're going to say 5X plus 7Y equals 2,500. That's because the cost of short sleeve plus the cost of long sleeve equals the total cost. And then for what we collect $8 for short sleeve, $12 for long sleeve, for $200 total. Now you could sketch a graph. Personally, I would not do that. I think it's a little bit wild to do that. I would just use the elimination technique. Now you could graph in your calculator. Now I've shown you how to do that, if you so desire. And there's some other techniques I'll show you guys as well later in this unit. But if you use the elimination technique, then you're probably going to, maybe we could get rid of x, so we can multiply it by -8, multiply it by -5. Remember, you got to do the identical thing to the other side just for fair treatment, and work it out. Now, because I do have a fancy program on my calculator, I'm actually going to tell you what the answer is. But I trust that you guys can do this by hand, just in the interest of making this video not too crazy long. So I do have this fancy program, which I'd love to show you guys in class next time. So see 5, 7, 2,500, 8, 12, 4,200. So it looks like we sell 150 short sleeve shirts and 250 long sleeve shirts. So use some algebra to get the answer there. We got one more. So let's see, there were 76 tennis players at the regional girls tournament last Saturday, 26 games in progress at one time. when all settings are completed, playing either single or double. A double game requires 4 players, single 2 players. No kidding. Games of each kind were in progress at one time. So here's the deal. Let x equal the number of single games, and y the number of double games. Easy peasy, right? So, obviously there are 26 games in progress, so x plus y is 26. And you have 2 people involved in a singles game, 4 people involved in a doubles game, that's 76 people. You can do a substitution if you like, x equals 26 minus y. Substitute into one of the equations here. This is pretty easy to do by hand. I think you guys getting 2y on this side and 24 on the other side, so y is 12. X is 14, which makes sense because if you work it out, you get 28 people on the single games and then 48 people. Yeah, it works itself out. So this stuff shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so that concludes the video, and there'll be some Google questions to answer, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.